this meeting to order, special board meeting. Roll call, all present. Discussion action item number 1 is accept a donation.
Mr. President, I actually have had 2 donations. One came in, found out this afternoon, so more details about it. So it's a $500 donation from the Pierce family and a $300 donation from the Gardner family to be used for the fall play.
I'm having trouble hearing you, I'm sorry.
A $500 donation from the Pierce family and another $300 donation from the Gardner family for the fall play.
For the fall play, okay.
So we'll need to accept that if you would like.
Can we accept donations for a specific thing? I can't remember, wasn't there something about that?
As long as it doesn't, it was Title IX or whatever,
Right.
Oh.
or it's for both male and female, I don't think it matters.
Right.
Yeah, like you couldn't say boys uniform.
Right.
Okay.
Or if you do, you have to accept one for the girls too or something.
Yeah, I can remember stuff. No issues there with them. I would like to accept the donations of, say, divine, or accept the donations
From the
as
two
presented
yeah.
for the fall play.
Second.
I'll say that.
All in favor? 7-0. Moving on to number 2, discuss boiler and air handling unit.
Okay, so I guess I'll just talk about the boiler first, because there was some discussion about maybe we should go ahead and look at replacing the boiler. And then when I had talked to Novitus, they had kind of thrown out the number 500,000 for that. And so then there were some questions that were brought up then. Do we have to open this up for bids? And KSB confirmed that we would have to, because it wasn't part of the when you guys decided just to address the air handling, or the HVAC system. So we'd have to open the bids on that, but it did go ahead and see if we could get financing for it. And that's this Raymond James document, and that just kind of shows you, what that would look like, the payment on that. So I did go ahead and give you the capital outlay expenditures for the last 3 years, so you can kind of see where we've spent the money for that. So I can try to answer your questions on that. I think I've expressed to you before, I'm very concerned about trying to make the HVAC payment and now the boiler payment, if you chose to do that. That would take up most all of the capital outlay money that we bring in each year. And I meant to put this on, but I forgot. So this year, what we have in our budget that should be levied is $183,400, I believe. It's right in there, so don't hold me to that number, but it's right at $183,000. So you guys have any questions about the boiler? I did go ahead and have them order the boiler pump, because we need to get that rolling, because that's just, we know that's not functioning. When I did ask for like a second opinion on the boiler, just because I thought that price was maybe, really felt like I needed to check the pricing on that. After talking with a couple of other superintendents, they felt like that was pretty high. So talked to another company, and I asked them, how do you know if your boiler's bad? Because I don't know, I just don't like the whole fact of like, oh, it could go out tomorrow, or you could have 20 years. I feel like there should be some sort of, we should have more information than that to be able to decide how good this boiler, what state the boiler's in. So really, I talked to another company and they said, well, what's your preventive maintenance? And so kind of got to the bottom of that. Glassman's does our preventive maintenance. They do it each year. Now they do it at different levels. So I talked to a guy from Glassman that had done it 3 years ago. And he said our boiler was in very good shape, he felt like, but he hadn't looked at it since then, so I got a hold of the guy that's been doing it the last 2 years. And, he said, kind of the same thing, the last time he took that whole thing apart and looked at it. I talked a lot about tubes, I don't pretend to know much about boilers, but just, they talked about looking at the tubes in those, and he said those were good. And he said that we are due to pull that thing apart and look at it again extensively, here in the next few weeks. He said October. So, but he felt like the boiler was in good shape. He made no guarantees, but he said for your boiler, he feels like it's in good shape. And I guess I got that from 2 different guys from Glassman's that have looked at that boiler. Talked a lot about the boiler last week, so I was trying to make sure I hit everything that I talked about last week with different people. You know, I've talked to schools that have had their boiler 50, 60 years, you know. We've had schools that have had their boiler 20 years, you know, so.
Yeah, or the mill.
Wait and see what Glassman says, and then another, whenever this October
When they pull it
checkup
apart, look
is.
at it.
Move on.
That's what I said. Is there anything else on the,
On the boiler, no, I'd like to talk a little bit about the air handling unit, but,
okay.
which you guys are gonna have to help me out a little bit on that, cause you had conversations and been up there in that. So, you wanted to talk about what you've done and what you've talked to Dale about?
Yeah, after the last meeting, I visited with Dale, and we went up and looked at their handler on the stage. We were mostly looking at that drive shaft he was talking about that's broken in the middle. But then, the coil that's been leaking, I guess, is in that same air handler. I didn't put 2 and 2 together that night, but, and that coil, it's about a 4-foot tall by 10-foot long radiators, essentially what it is. It's got 5/8-inch coils running out the whole thing. Over on one corner up top, there was an automatic air purge valve that's been leaking, who knows how long. The bottom of it was rusted off. It's up there and it's hidden away. Who knows how long it's been leaking. Anyway, he's replaced that with a manual valve. It's sealed, all good. But these 5/8-inch tubes that run through there, there's also some of them that he's pretty confident are seeping. It's right up in that same area. Probably caused by some galvanized metal that the coils run through. When that top stuff was spraying down on it, the galvanized kind of started expanding and flaking, and kind of a rusting type thing. I mean, galvanized not supposed to rust, but it still corrodes a little. And probably kind of got into these coils. And I think he's planning on just either cutting that galvanized out of there and basically splicing those 5/8-inch tubes with heater hose. Automotive heater hose essentially, which is made for, I forget how many, 250 degrees, you know, and 100 pounds of pressure. Yeah, it's kind of a cobble job, but I guess, it doesn't scare me, but, you get up there and you look at there's a lot of corrosion around the edges of this thing. And he's pretty convinced almost every bit of that came from that valve that was leaking over the years. There's a drain in the bottom of this deal, so we would have never known it was leaking. It was just draining down to the sewer.
Unless the drain got plugged, you never know.
Yeah, and I think they were working on maybe replacing it, putting new pipe in that drain, cause it had kind of started to seal shut. I think it was a galvanized drain as opposed to PVC, or opposed to something that's better than that now.
The other option is to cap them.
Yeah, or else he talked about just capping, cause in the very top left corner of this deal, you could just cap off a couple of those lines that run the whole length of that deal, and maybe lose 5 to 10% of the capacity of that coil, which I don't think you would ever even realize it if you did that, but I don't know, for visiting with him, I mean, the other option is to replace the coil, basically 20 grand, give or take, you know.
That's a ballpark number, yeah.
And he just said, you know, this coil was built back when stuff was built good. So if it was mine, he said, I would mend that thing in a heartbeat. Yeah, you might have a nice spot here bad here for now, but you really don't have anything. This is Dale, this is not Novitus. Novitus basically says, my understanding is either leave it alone or replace it. They're not gonna stand behind anything in between. But Dale is, what is he? He's a contractor for Novitus.
He's a contract manager.
He's an independent guy who is just overseeing this project for Novitus. And he's like, I get that, Novitus wants to keep their name off of it. But he said, he goes, you guys can do what you want, but he said, I know if it was me, he's like, I would either cap those or mend them. He said, might not really know which way to go until I start doing it, it's kinda what he said.
You could mend them, and if that doesn't work, at least just cap them then.
Yeah, just cap them, or, I mean, he's talking about, from when I talked to him, I think we're looking at, I would say less than $400 for him to kind of do what he thinks here, and I really, when I say less than 400, I really think it's probably less than 200.
Right.
And I don't, as long as that drain's draining good, I don't really have a big safety issue if something.
It's been leaking
That-
for how long?
Yeah, it's been, we have no idea how long it's been
Yeah.
leaking, but long enough to rust that whole unit out. I mean, that's don't happen overnight. What else would be? Oh, he's like, if that whole coil were to go bad, you're probably looking at losing 30 to 50 gallon of water. Like, it's not like cause it's part of the boiler system and it's up high. So it's not like you're just gonna have a continuous feed of water flooding. It's just something's gonna break and that water level's gonna drop. And you'll have to refill it, but, yeah.
It's not gonna be a main.
It's not gonna be like a 1-inch water line lip breaking and flood a gym floor or anything like that. And of course, it's the same deal, there's no guarantees with it, you know.
I'm all about mending it, but just out of curiosity, did he say if you wanted to replace it, can you even get them? Or is it gonna be like a 6, 8
He
month?
sounded like about a 6-week,
Oh,
I kinda get the impression it'd have to be built,
okay.
kind of a custom built thing, but he said typically about 6 weeks out from what he's checked into. Yeah, that's what, I agree, like, cause that's old. When was that, Jim? Well, we're assuming it's all original.
50 something, wasn't it?
Early 50s.
Yeah, I think 52 is the number that's been thrown out to me, but. Yeah, and like I say, it's the same exact unit that has that shaft issue, and I think he's coming out tomorrow, and I think,
Well, the other thing, that shaft isn't broke.
no, the shaft's not broke,
Oh, it's not.
no. It's basically 2 inch and 7/16 shafts that come about that far apart from each other, and they just have a piece of pipe over the top of them, a loose fitting piece of pipe that had a bolt drilled through pipe and shaft on both sides. Hence the clunk you always heard. But the bolt on the drive side has sheared, and that thing just spun.
How many years?
I don't know, but it's got that shaft, inch and 7/16 shaft wore down to almost 1/8 of an inch all the way around, which would be almost a 1/4 inch smaller than what it was originally. So it's been like that for a while. But I think we're just gonna put two basically, they're called Lovejoy couplers. And with a short shaft, we're cut off the bad spots. Lovejoy, good shaft between them, and I think it'll be 10 times better than what that other coupler was.
It spins in their area,
And that-
area there.
The one bearing was out, and that's why it was putting so much pressure down on that shaft as it was spinning. To cause that to run like that, but. Anyway, I feel like, my opinion is I would let Dale do whatever there, but that's my take after talking to him.
I'm in favor of that too.
And I think he's planning on being here in the morning if somebody wanted to go look at it with him or whatever, but.
He's gonna know right away if the line's gonna hold.
Right, that's what I
Cameron
think.
said, we just cap it and move on, as long as there's no safety issues of capping it and losing the capacity, who cares?
Right. And I don't think that heater unit even comes close to needing to be run at capacity anymore. One thing he said, once you put that drop ceiling in there, which he said I can almost guarantee that drop ceiling wasn't in that gym originally. He's like, right there in itself, your value, or the amount of heat you need to heat that went down by like 25% or something. I mean, we've been heating with one fan for how long? But,
Yeah, so using like half of that radiator anyway.
yeah, pretty much.
That's what they call it.
Just a coil, cooling coil, or heating coil, I guess it would be. But,
So he would do it separate from,
yeah, this would have nothing to do with my office. If we went that route.
right,
We need a motion there.
Make a motion for Dale to
I would prefer
Proceed.
that.
That sounds good to me.
Is that a motion? Yeah, that could be the motion. I'll make the motion that Dale proceeds as stated by Mark to fix the coil and the shaft in the fan.
I'll second.
All in favor? 7-0. Alright, number 3, executive session, attorney-client privilege.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I appreciate the ability to look this over good and everything, and for the 7 pages of what it looks like, and then the 5 pages of the other, it looks to me like that I would suggest we don't even need executive session, for the fact that if we just sign this, agree to it, then it won't cost us anything, and we would be done with it. If with this order here at the end.
Mr. President,
On the consent order, I stated those, if we don't go ahead, then that causes some issues, but looks like all we need to do is sign the consent order, and we're good to go.
Well, I know for a fact that the consent order isn't correct from top to bottom.
You're right, yeah, I did see that, yeah.
There's
And there
multiple
is,
times that I'm referred to as Brad.
I saw that.
And I'm not
And
Brad.
also, there is another thing, cause I've already taken the coma training, and, it says 2 hours and 1 hour will be sufficient, so, cause that's all it was, so, I do know that that is a change too, upon the other one, but you're right about that, but looking at the, so does that mean that we need to just get another copy of the consent order?
I have no idea, that's what the attorney's for, I guess.
That was my understanding, is that after I talked to the Attorney General's office yesterday, they were gonna correct these and send it out, but they told me there was no reason in here that would justify an executive session with an attorney.
I thought everything was pretty clear in here to be able to go ahead and make the motion and just do the consent order.
Thoughts?
Mr. Cox, would you like to hear from me at this time? My understanding is that the information I received is in the matter of a proposed settlement. That is not public until it becomes executed, and there are a few points of law I would like to point out in advising the board. Of course, the board can go forward without advice, and it's probably, if it wishes to go forward without advice, then there's probably some information that is important to state publicly, but ordinarily you get your advice first, then you come out, have your discussion, and take whatever public discussion and action you wanna take. My recommendation is, some advice would be useful, but, that's the board's decision.
Wasn't it also your recommendation to go in to discuss an itemized bill that found out later that we couldn't have done two meetings ago?
Mr. Cox, would you like me to respond to that? Okay, I didn't hear it. Were you talking about bills?
Yeah,
Yes, bills the invoices contain attorney-client privileged information, and they also sometimes contain names and other matters that the district is required to keep confidential. That's the reason for that, but those can be redacted. If you would like those to be redacted, the board would have to vote to do that. Sure, there is some information we have to protect. There is some information that should be conveyed in an attorney-client privileged situation. And then if the board chooses to waive the privilege, it can, but only the board acting as a whole can waive the privilege.
yeah.
And the
My
information.
point was the fact that you're the one that told us to do that, and come to find out it may have not been the most legal thing that we've done.
If you're making a claim about that, you're welcome to make it. I said the bills contain privileged and confidential information. They contain names, they contain all kinds of things that we're obligated to protect. The district is obligated to protect, and when you violate those rules, you subject the district to potential liability.
Okay.
But if you have more complaints you'd like to tell the board about, certainly. I'm available if you need me, and if not, that's fine too.
I do know that was mentioned in the training, itemized bills cannot be taken into executive session. So maybe you black out the names. I did not ask any questions on that, in which I got some paperwork on it and stuff, but maybe that's where you black out, but it sounds like itemized
That's
bills.
what the word redact means.
Okay, all right.
That's what redacting is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
kinda,
the district is provided with a generic statement for each bill. There is a generic statement that can be produced, but you had specific questions that got into the nitty-gritty, so.
I don't know, I didn't see anything in here that would cause any things, and I think, I mean, I would make a motion that we accept the consent order and, as it's revised by the AG Attorney General, and, sign and be in compliance and
Mr. Cox?
accept their,
We don't have the revised consent.
There's nobody from the AG office who has told us what the revised one's gonna be.
true, except the name of the, the name of the change, the names on it.
I understand, you and I can look through it and say, well, this isn't right, this isn't right, but we're signing our name to something that's, yeah, I mean,
And we also have the person that filed the complaint encouraging us to sign something that's not accurate.
I didn't do all the complaints, Cameron, there's 53 violations on here.
That we are all, your last, never mind, but every one of us screwed up on an executive session in and out.
Exactly.
And it was based, that's the way I learned from the very beginning. That's how it was clear back when I started, same as you, Brad, right? I mean, we've been consistent in how we did it. We were wrong. We missed some things, we were wrong, but we have been very consistent in how we did it, and I guess that's why we had 53 violations, and I believe it's all to be the same thing that we did.
I agree. So that's why I said I didn't see any problems with the consent order, accepting it.
So we need to contact them and find out about the mistakes, right?
you have a motion on the floor? Did you make a
Yes, but
motion
there's no
to-
second.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
I guess that motion dies for lack of a second.
Hmm.
Is thoughts?
I think we have to wait till we get the updated consent.
Well, I agree with that, but I guess I feel like I wanna know what our options are if we do sign it versus options if we don't sign it, and what that means to me, for
They're,
me, or for us
They're
personally.
stated on those state regs at the bottom.
Yeah, but what does it mean if I sign my name to that, even though there's plenty of stuff in there that I don't necessarily agree with? What's that mean for me? What am I signing my name to? What kind of guilt am I admitting? I mean, that's the kind of thing that I'm not arguing the 53 counts, cause, well, I should say that. I would, except there's one statement in there that says, ignorance of the law is no excuse or whatever. And I'm like, might be, but I don't know. I haven't been to a training yet that specified it quite like it's specified in there. And I'm not, but like I said, I don't feel like there's anything to argue, personally, after reading it, but
Mr. Cox, I would just like to point out, if these privileges and the settlement negotiation privilege is going to be waived, it should be done by motion voted on by the board. Otherwise, I recommend they would go into executive session. But if a majority wants to waive all privileges, I don't recommend that, but that certainly, can be done. And I do have information to report to you, but, I don't think it's appropriate for me to do that in open session because the, posture of this matter at this present time.
Well, it looks like if we didn't sign it, we would go to like court, trial or something, and we pay the cost if we lose, is that what you understood?
that's what I would understand.
Is there a motion one way or the other?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the resolution of the matter with the Attorney General's office for attorney-client privilege with our school attorney, Etta Walker, including, Mrs. Hammer and Mr. Cordy.
Is there a second?
Wait a minute, don't, when we come out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking on it. For 20 minutes.
And I think the class that I said, you're not supposed to
Excuse-
give 20 minutes, you're supposed to give the time,
You gotta return.
so be wise on that part.
Returning to the library.
Yeah, the light in the library and
Okay.
return to the library.
What does the clock say?
5:20, or 6:20.
20 minutes,
Okay.
6:20 to the library.
That cover everything.
I think that got all the steps. Reason.
Says that,
We'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? All opposed? 5-2. Sandy, Brad opposed. And we'll return at
So, I mean, no.
6:20.
I'm gonna exit the meeting at the same time, just so you have that. Joanna, I'm exiting, yep.
I'm gonna exit too, I'm headed.
That's how I was advised.